Shalom everyone, and today we study Parashat Tazria-Metsora. Really, these are two parashot being read together, starting the book of Vayikra, Leviticus, chapter 12, verse 1. The few topics in these two parashot, they cover basically the same idea. The first topic is starting with Tazria means nobody knows. But it's from the word seed, and that will be the topic. Planting the seed. Here it's speaking about the seed of getting pregnant and giving birth. That's the beginning of Parashat Tazria. After that, we have the chapter 12, chapter 13, starting the issue of leprosy, which covers both parashot. However, we understand that we are not, if you really read this parasha carefully, and I said it many, many times, we are not talking about the pathological disease known today as leprosy. The simple proof for that is that when we go to chapter 13, verse 47, it speaks about והבגד כי יהיה בו נגע צרת, when a piece of clothing will have leprosy. That's not a pathological disease because clothes do not have pathological human diseases. And if that's not satisfying, we can go later to Parashat Metsora, which is continuing with that issue. And here, when we talk about chapter 14, verse 33, Kitavo 34, Kitavo el Eretz Canaan, as you come into the land of Canaan, that I give you as inheritance, ונתתי נגע צרת בבית ארץ אחוזתכם. And I will give the leprosy in the house of your inheritance. Houses cannot have a pathological disease that humans have. Why? Because houses that don't have blood flow, they don't have, they don't have the diseases we have. Okay, so when we are talking about leprosy, we realize over here that we have something that is much deeper than just a pathological disease. We are talking about a mental disease. Could clothes have a mental disease? Could houses have a mental disease? Of course they can, and we will see why. Okay, so basically, it looks like here we are talking about not about the disease, but we're talking in these two parashot about planting seeds. Remember, we are all going through very, very hard times. We read so many times from the Zohar how tough these times are supposed to be and how these times are going to divide humanity into two groups. One that has emunah. Emunah means usually translate into faith, but not really. It's higher than faith. Faith, it is connection. And we'll see how it's connected to these parashot, the connection to the high above, the connection to the divine realm beyond the physicality. Whoever is not basically capable of making that connection will go through very, very hard times. Now, who could say he has a real, pure, complete emunah? We're human beings. We're being driven a lot by things that are not connected to emunah. It could be basic belief systems that are wrong. It could be logic that is not always right, most of the times. It could be connected to emotions. It could be connected to reactions, fear, anger, insecurity. Basically, what the topic is, what is driving us, what is the place of free will, what determines our destiny, especially nowadays that we don't really know where is it safe, what is it safe, where should I put my money, where should I put myself. Nothing is clear. We thought, most of us thought a few decades ago, whoever is old enough, that things are getting just better and better. And here it looks like basic structures that we thought they're stable and they're just getting better are not getting better. On the contrary, they're falling apart. We're talking about empires, you know, big structures that were powerful and are not that powerful anymore. We're talking about the EU. We're talking about the United States of America. We're talking about, you just look around. There's so much uncertainty. How do you make the right decisions so you can save yourself when everything is falling apart? Your the economy, your country, your the system, the political system, nothing can be trusted anymore. Nothing is safe anymore. And it feels like maybe in the 1930s, when things was falling apart and most people could not really find a way to save themselves, which logic really didn't serve in the search for security. So here comes the most important thing, which is about free will. Where is our free will? So research is saying, especially like there's so much research about it in the last few decades, speaking about the idea of free will, that we don't really have free will. Why? There's an old saying that says if you continue to think like you used to think, you continue to get what you used to get, which means as long as you have the same belief systems and emotional structure, you are prone to make the same choices again and again, and you're going to see the same results again and again. And this is not always good news. Basically, the question is, and that's what Kabbalah is about, that's what studying the Zohar is about, how do we change our belief system? How do we change for the better our way of looking at life? How do we change more correct our frequency, our state of the energetical state? Because only when we change our mind frame to be more enlightened, only when we change our frequency to a higher, more positive frequency, only then we make different choices, and only then the choices come to fruition with different path in life that is better, safer, and more fruitful. So that's basically what this is about. So here we start first with the Ishaki Tazria, speaking about a woman that is getting pregnant. Although the word over here is not getting pregnant, uh, that's not the word used always, almost always in Hebrew. One place is not using this word, Isha ki tehere, usually that's a word. Here, ki tazria, tazria means uh, somewhere around give seed. Okay? Should be planted the seed. Be planted with the seed because, you know, a man plants a seed in a woman's womb, and that finally comes to fruition as pregnancy. That's not what it says over here. So the Zohar is going into a length explaining that. We'll just make it in short um, because we dealt with that in many previous Parashat Tazria, and many people already heard those parashot in previous years. But here, the the idea is that I'm reading the Zohar Parashat Ki Tazria, verse 14, in the Aramaic, and it says, "Tachazei, come and see, בשעתה דברנש עתי להתקדשה להזדווגה בנוקבי." When a man comes to sanctify himself and unite with a female, his wife, בהיותה קדישה דילי, with a holy desire the man, the husband has, Itar alei rucha kadisha, he brings upon himself, he draws from above a holy spirit, kalil decha venukba, and that holy spirit is male and female together. ורמיז קודשה בכו לחת שלוחה ממנה על ידו הון דבני נשה, ומלני בידי ההוא רוחה, והודה לי לאן אתה רפקוד לי, הדר דכתיב והלילה אמר הור הגבר. Okay, to make it short, after the man draws from above a Holy Spirit, then the Creator is sending a messenger and directing him to bring pregnancy. And he gives that spirit to that messenger, that angel. And he gives him also the address. You know, that's not the stork. There's an angel that brings that spirit into that soul, into that pregnancy of that woman. And then it's now the Zohar is, we have to understand what the Zohar is saying. When a man is concentrating to awaken, to draw a holy soul from above. What if the man is not concentrated on drawing a holy soul from above? So the Zohar continues later on, of course, that if the husband or the man is not concentrating on awakening a holy soul from above, the soul that will be awakened or drawn from above will be dependent on his intentions, which means if his intentions at that moment with that woman are solely selfish and materialistic, which means he wants to enjoy himself. He has no idea that he is right now planting a seed for who knows how many years of his life. Okay, here we have an issue because how many people, by the way, this is, I think, according to my opinion, one of the major proofs that you have to study Kabbalah when you're young, because, you know, some people, it's fake, but some people say you have to be 40 years minimum before you start to study Kabbalah. That was a decree, and the decree was over a given time, and that decree was over at the end of the 15th century, more than 500 years ago. Okay? But yeah, if you really understand statistics, most people are being born when their parents are younger than 40. So if you do not know Kabbalah, you have no idea that when you want to have a child or when you just impregnate somebody, that's playing Russian roulette. Very sad, which means you should know that stuff, that Zohar that we're talking about, before you're getting married. And if the average marriage age used to be like less than 20, now it's over 20, it's almost 30, but in some societies still, you need to learn that stuff before, because here it tells you that who determines the kind of a soul that comes into a child. uh, these are the parents, which means that's why the name of the parasha, Tazria, it's about planting a seed. How do you plant the seed? You plant the seed when you are aware or not aware during an action, uh, that your consciousness is very, very important in planting that seed, which means when a couple are creating a child, here the Zohar claims that the thoughts, the intention, and especially the desire of the couple during the moment of being together, okay, that will determine what kind of a soul will come into their child. Okay, which means if you're not aware of it, so then by default, whatever thoughts you have at that moment, and that will determine, and I won't go into it, but in the reincarnation course, we have a whole class about it. Rabbi Zakloria, the Arizal, is going to very, very detailed study about and how that determines the nature of the child that will be born and be, you know, grow out of that connection. Still, the seed is the most detrimental moment, and the seed is determined by our thoughts, consciousness, and especially what the Zohar says, our will. What is that we desire at that moment? Do we desire to connect to holiness? Because, you know, a man and a woman uniting together, it's with the consciousness, it's uniting the female and the male in the upper worlds, and that's holy. And that's very holy. And if that's being done with the right meditation and contemplation, of course, that will bring a holy soul, which means that the karmic debt of that soul is not that heavy. However, if that is different, which means there's a lot of very crude materialistic desires of physical passion at that moment only, that will mean that the child that will be born, that frequency is going to determine its life. That child will have much heavier karmic debt, which means overcoming materialism, overcoming the focusing of the body and materialistic desires. Now, how is that connected to leprosy? Because that is the next chapter. Okay? Uh, so Rashi, the great commentator from the 11th century France, is teaching us as follows. We just go to chapter 14, where it says, verse 2, Zot tiyeh Torat HaMetzora. This is these are the laws of the leopard. On the day of his purification, biyom taharato, v'uva el Kohen, who can purify and heal the leopard? The Kohen, the priest, not a physician. There's no mentioning of a physician. That another way to prove that this is not a pathological disease. And Rashi says, Lefi shenegaim ba'im aleshon hara, because the leprosy is a result of bad mouthing, לשון הרע, שהוא מעשה פטפוטי דברים, which is talking stuff, okay, without control. לפיכך הוזקקו לטהרתו ציפורים. That's why to purify the leopard you need birds. שאתם מפטפטים תמיד בצפצוף קול. They always chat, okay? ועץ ארז, and a cedar tree, wood. Why? Because the leprosy, שהנגעים באים על גסות הרוח. Leprosy is because of being bold and rude, which means the cedar tree is big, strong. It shows about physical strength and boldness. Ushni tolat ve'ezov, and also there's a red thread of a worm, red, and hyssop. So shni tolat, that is a red dyed wool, but it's the red color is coming from a worm. Okay, that's what Rashi is saying, and he adds upon it, it's also from hyssop, that is also, now, the birds are talking. The cedar tree is a symbol of strength, power, boldness, and so on, while the shni tolat ve'ezov, they're a symbol of humility and, not holding yourself as high. That's which means the disease and the healing. Why do people badmouth other people? And here again, we'll see what's the connection with the first chapter about the pregnancy. Just think about it. When is it we talk bad about somebody? There's the most famous book about the topic is Shmirat HaLashon, Guarding Your Tongue, by the Chafetz Chaim. Okay? And that book covers all aspects of Lashon Hara, bad mouthing. But if you study, once I decided with a group that you asked me to study the whole book. We studied like most of the book, big part of the book, and then everybody said, if you study Kabbalah, this is clear. What's clear? When you study Kabbalah, just in an introductory course, you learn that the most important thing that you will ever do in your life is to train yourself to understand that there is an ongoing battle within yourself. The battle between the evil inclination and the good inclination. The light side of your personality and the dark side of your personality. Your true soul personality and your other darker side. They're always battling. Okay, so when you are aware of it, that the most important arena is what's happening in your mind and in your heart, when you really focus on that, you will start to realize, and that's basically the original Kabbalistic training, is to Go deep always and to listen to your thoughts and your feelings, be aware of them, and realize who is taking control, your true self or your false pretending self. Why? Because our dark side is not really our true, self. It is the evil inclination, which is basically there to give us the chance, the opportunity, the challenge to choose between light or darkness, good or evil, bitter or sweet. You cannot have the merit for a great life unless you earn it. No free lunches in this world, which means you have to have the merit by hard work, exercising like everything. You can't be a great athlete without trying hard, without investing, without practicing very, very well. You can't. It doesn't happen. You cannot be a great mathematician unless you practice a lot. You cannot be a great physician unless you studied and practice a lot. That's a known fact. Yeah, we all want to have that magic that achieves out of the blue. People want to do nothing and to get everything. That's the biggest disease of our society and our culture. That's why we have so many movies about supermen or women, about people who just got superpowers because they simply happen to be bitten by a spider. Doesn't work like this. It's all lies. You don't get lucky, fortunate, successful, or achieving greatness by doing nothing. You have to work for it a lot. You have to practice a lot. You have to focus a lot. You have to pay the price, which is a lot of hard work. Now, you cannot become a great prophet just because the lightning struck you. A lot of movies are made about it, a lot of stories about it. Doesn't work. It's all a myth and a lie. We know very well if somebody gets very, very lucky, so called, and you can. People can win the lottery, big amount of money. Does that make them lucky? Chances are it's going to make their lives worse. Why? You didn't really work for it. You don't have the vessel to keep it. You don't know how to deal with it. And power, money, all that stuff corrupts a lot. Okay? So statistics shows people win the big prize in lottery. A year later, their situation is much worse than before the winning. Why? That's the way of the world. You cannot give power. In this case, it's a small power, money. You get power without building the vessel for it, it's going to destroy you. You know, that's how it works. If you load your car with too much, it will fall apart. Everybody knows it. If you load your life with too much, your life will fall apart. How do you build the strength, the vessel, to have a lot? So here it is. Think about it. When is that we badmouth others? And bad-mouthing others, it's not when we say, we caught somebody stealing and we tell the victims that that guy stole from you. That's not bad-mouthing. This is doing what is right, which means when you tell about somebody's mistakes in order to help the victim that got hurt of it, you're bringing um, value. In that case, you're not supposed to stand aside if you see atrocities. The Torah tells us if you're standing aside and you could help somebody by telling him the truth about somebody stealing from him, you're felony. That's not bad mouthing. That's helping somebody. But if you tell about somebody's evil to people that doesn't help them, there's no value in saying it. The only value is that you feel that you have to derogate somebody else in order to elevate yourself. Oh, here we have a problem. Why? We all know that when we have moments of real achievement, happiness, fulfillment, joy, and real peace and quiet, we have no need whatsoever to hurt anyone. We don't have the need. The otherwise is right. We have the need to share what we've got, the good that we feel with other people. And of course, when we are feeling great, it's almost impossible for us to even have the thought about hurting somebody, even though that somebody is not that kind of a nice person. The moment I feel good, and as it says, the great secret of Kabbalist that Rabbi Ashlag is teaching us, you cannot give only but what you have. Which means when a person is full of happiness and light and good feeling, you're capable only of giving that what you feel and sharing it with others. However, when you hurt other people, that's because you're hurt. Because that's what you feel. That's why you have the need. And here comes the Torah and saying, what is leprosy? Leprosy is coming Metsora, motzi shem ra, bad mouthing somebody else, which means why would I have the need to derogate somebody else? Why would I have the need to make myself better, seen better by talking about somebody else's problems? Okay? Only because I am hurt. So here comes the real thing. When we have that moment of hurt, and our dark side is pushing us to derogate somebody else, which means to bring down somebody else, and by that I will feel better. You know, minus and minus does not make a plus. Last time I looked at the bank, when you have minus in the bank and you add minus, it becomes a bigger minus. Hurt and hurt does not become joy. Never. Okay, so how do I fix my hurt? By hurting somebody else, it doesn't work. Although revenge is sweet, however, it's never really proving that, how should I say, it's never proving profitable. The real action is coming first from the seed. We're speaking about the seed. The seed is the feel. I feel I am hurt. I need to hurt somebody else to feel better. Okay, this is the equation. What the Torah is saying, not just that hurting somebody else won't really make you better. It's going to get you leopard. You're going to be, the word for Metsora in Aramaic is sagir. Sagir, the word in Hebrew, sagur, means closed up, locked up, which means you think that you hurt somebody else. However, because you hurt somebody else, and as a boomerang, which means what you inflict upon others come, comes back at you. The hurt that you inflict on somebody else is coming back at you, and it blocks your ability to connect to light, to holiness. The result is that you are blocked, and the result of that being blocked is that you have to be isolated, quarantined, because you cannot be part of society. You have to isolate yourself. You have to repent. You have to transform. You have to realize that it, how bad it is, which means how do you solve the problem? And today, a lot of people make a living today, especially with the social media, by making other people look bad. Can you understand the leprosy they experience? You make one person looking bad in the eyes of five people. What it's when you're doing it for millions of people, hundreds of millions of people. If you're really, 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 you have a great, uh, name on the social media, how much hurt your soul is, how much sagil, which means locking up, your soul will experience. You want to change your life. You want to change the path in which you think that by hurting somebody, you elevate yourself, and your life will become more successful. This is impossible. You have to change the seed you're planting, which means when you feel the desire to hurt somebody else, to derogate somebody else, to put shame on somebody else, just because you're hurt, but just because you need revenge, just because you feel insecure, upset, incomplete, instead of doing what you always used to do. The Kabbalistic thing is you have to fight, the true fight, and the fight is within yourself. And there is an amazing article about it in Parashat Tazria. This article is about the fight between Jacob and the dark angel. And that fight is not just a story about something that happened thousands of years ago. Okay? Jacob fighting the angel. Look, you fight an angel. I don't think the cameras around took the pictures of the fight. I don't think there's any remnants somewhere of the fight, but the remnants are inside each one of us. Verse 51 in Parashat Tazria. רבי אבא פתח ואמר, ויאמר שלחני כי עלה השחר. Jacob is fighting the dark angel till the morning. And then the angel said, send me away because it's dawn already. ויאמר שלחני. He said, the angel, set me free. וכי עקוד הווה בידי יעקב? Was the angel harnessed by Jacob? אלא זכאין אינון צדיק היה. דקודשא בריך הוא חס על עיקר הדילון ולא שביק לו להלמין. הדר דכתיב לא ייתן לעולם מות לצדיק. והכתיב ותקע כף יח יעקב. So, was the angel captured by Jacob? And the Zohar says, praiseworthy are the righteous, because God simply stands for their honor and never leaves them alone. And he never allows them to be beaten. So the Zohar is saying, but we know that Jacob's thigh was hurt at the end of that fight. So the Zohar continues. And he answers, אלא המלאך לקח את שלו. The angel took what belongs to him. I'll skip a lot of stuff so we get to the point. Verse 54. Come and see. It says in Genesis, the story of the angel. I think it was Genesis 32. ויוותר יעקב לבדו, and Jacob was left alone. And then, ויאבק איש עמו, and a person started to wrestle with him. That was a dark angel. למדנו, we learned, המלאך מצד הדין הוא בא. That dark angel came from the side of judgment. וממשלתו בצד הזה של הלילה. And its control, its reign, is on that dark side of the night. That is, what does it mean, the side of the night? היינו שהוא ממונה להכניס את ישראל בגלות. This is that dark side that is always drawing Israel into exile, which is night and darkness. שהוא לילה וחושך. כיוון שעלה האור, as the light was coming, dawn, נחלש כוחו, his power started to be diminished. ונתגבר עליו כוחו של יעקב, and Jacob's power overcame him. כי מצד של הלילה בא, because that darkness came from the night. ועל כן, בזמן שהיה לילה, לא יכול לו יעקב. During the night, Jacob could not overcome the angel. However, when dawn came, and the light was starting to come, Jacob's power got stronger. And then he overthrew the angel. אמר לו המלאך, so the angel said to him, עזוב אותי, leave me alone. איני יכול לך, I cannot control you, cannot defeat you. מהו הטעם שלא יכולו? Why the angel could not defeat Jacob? משום שעלה האור, because the light rose, ונשבר כוח שלו, and his power was broken. שכתוב ברון יחד כוכבי בוקר ויריעו כל בני אלוקים. מה ויריעו? שנשברו כל אלו שמצד הדין. That's a verse from Job 38. Speaking about how when the morning stars are rejoicing, and then they break all those angels of judgment. Okay, and let's continue, verse 56. אמר לו, he said to him, שלחני כי עלה השחר, set me free because the morning came. היינו שהגיע הזמן להתקבץ ולשבח שבחו של הקדוש ברוך הוא. Okay, let us first see, and then the angel blessed him. That's how it continues. Jacob asked the angel to give him a blessing. And he gave him a blessing, and the blessing was, your name is not going to be Jacob anymore, the one who follows others, holding on to others, Yaakov, but your name will be Israel, the one who can fight judgment and win. So, we have challenges every day. Somebody says something. Somebody didn't say that something. Something happens. You know, we are just drowned by challenges. All of these challenges are, if you study Kabbalah, they are opportunities. What does it mean? We are here in this world to choose light over darkness. Jacob's fight during the night is our fight. We all have a dark side. We all have a dark angel. We all need, in order to achieve greatness and divinity, we need to earn it. How do we earn it? We have to win against the dark angel. How do we win against that dark angel? When we have, for instance, that moment in which instead of taking responsibility and rise to the opportunity, we have our dark angel telling us, blame it on somebody else. Do not take responsibility. Hide your responsibility. Blame it on somebody else. Frame somebody else. Uh, Show other people's weakness, so everybody that will basically take off the fire from you and put it on them. Whenever we do that, we succumb to the dark angel, and that means our exile is getting longer. Why? Exile means that you are far away from home, you're far away from connection, you are disconnected, you are basically captured in the darkness. That's exile. That's night. How do and therefore, because we are infested by dark emotions and dark feelings that are very primitive, very negative, and very low in frequency, that will force us, our minds, our brain, when we think in a low frequency, that means we do not have free will. We think we have free will, but that free will is fake. Our mindset, our mind frequency will force us to choose what basically will keep us in the ghetto, in the darkness, in captivity, close, small, hurt, and being losers. Very simple. That frequency always will take us to the same thing. We will change a job, we will change a spouse, we will change an environment, a profession. The same frequency will give us always the same results. You continue to think what you used to think, you continue to get what you used to get. Where is the free will? Is when you stop being a leopard. How do you do that? When you burn the cedar, the loftiness, I want to show off as a strong person. And how do you do that? By putting down other people. Uh, how do I do it? By talking bad about everybody around, the bird, the cedar tree. Instead, I take the humility of the shani, the worm of shani, of a worm, and the hyssop, which is a low, very low plant, huge powers, removing negativity because it is low, because it's very, very humble. So how do you do that? You have, like Jacob, to hold on to the angel till the light comes. So you wait till the light comes? No, you bring the light in. How Ura Kevodi Ura Shachar, Aira Shachar. As King David is saying in Psalms, I will wake up the dawn. How do I wake up the dawn? Instead of being immersed with the old negativity, I have to draw the dawn. I have to draw the holiness, like we spoke about, conceiving a child. You have to actively, consciously train yourself through prayers, meditation, study, prayers, meditation, study, mind control. Whenever you feel the dark angel attacking you, you stop the negativity and you focus on the light. How can you focus on the light if you didn't train yourself to focus on the light? So I spoke about it many times. There is today a scientific realm that is called neurotheology. When you train your frontal lobe by meditation about connecting to the light, the more you train, the more thicker your frontal lobe becomes. And then after you train yourself, you are fit. You have the ability to switch from the back brain, the primitive brain, the noisy brain that is full of, the dark angel, all kind of thoughts of judgment that are low, negative, and dark. And then you focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. You want enlightenment, you want greatness, you want to feel good, you want holiness. When you focus on that, you bring dawn, you beat the angel. You remove, now you are capturing the angel. And now what he does, he gives you the blessing. He rewards you with a blessing, which means, how can I get higher? Not just by meditating, it's living a life, uh, you dealing with the dark angel, and then switching the darkness into light. As we say, practice makes perfect. And I had a student who said, perfect practice makes perfect. He was a great coach. Only perfect practice makes perfect, which means if you practice over blaming, shaming, hating, being angry about, and you're justified and you feel so right about it, that's a wrong practice. The practice is that the perfect practice is the practice of perfecting yourself, becoming enlightened, becoming divine, wanting the divine. And therefore, there's so many Kabbalistic meditations, especially the Yichud. You can find it in the bottom of this video on YouTube. You can find the connection to that meditation, that you should do it at least twice a day, exercising your mind to elevate to a higher place. So when you feel that the dark angel attacks you, you can rejoice. Why? Because now when I attack him, till I capture him, how do I capture him? When I take over and turn the darkness into light. When I reconnect to the will, the desire to draw in holiness, then the dark angel grants you his blessing. You become from Jacob, that comes from the word Akev, the heel. You come Israel, the one who fights and wins. That's what Israel means. And more than that, Li Rosh, getting the head. So your frequency is transformed from the heel to the head, from the bottom to the top. And when your frequency changes, when your energy level is changing, then your choices change, your brain structure changes, and then your perception of reality is changing, and then the energy fields around you change, and then you draw in good fortune, good luck, and new movie, and new destiny. That is the change. So how is that connected to the leopard houses? So the Zohar is teaching us that the ancient Canaanites were obsessed with dark magic. They believed in power of magic, like the Egyptians, like all the ancient nations of the past. They were obsessed with dark magic, and that's what the Torah is telling us, that's what the Zohar is telling us. Today, there's so many excavations in Israel, modern Israel. When you come to the layer of the Canaanites, you know exactly this is a Canaanite layer, because every house is full with magical items. items for dark magic. So you know that's a Canaanite era. Now, you can find out also in Israelite, but less in Israel archaeological excavation, because these are the houses and the cities that replace the Canaanites. And you see, like the Torah, that the Bible is telling us, some of the Israelites were idol worshippers. You can see it, but it's not as much as the Canaanites. And then you can see also in the archaeological excavations that how do you know this is a Israelite town? You don't find bones of pork uh, or unkosher fish. And you can see the changes according as what the Bible is saying. There was a change along the ages. And but you can tell when it's a people who go by the Torah or the Canaanites. So when the Canaanites build a house, the Zohar is telling us, they knew that the seed is important. So what did they do? Just a second. Yeah, that's also in Parashat Tazria in the Zohar of Parashat Tazria. So there's a whole article that is being read in what is called Chanukat Habayit when you come to a new house. You didn't build it, or you did build it, and you want to establish positive energy in that house. You do that celebration and that ceremony. It is called Chanukat Habayit, and this part of the Zohar, Parashat Tazria, is part of the reading. That part is part of the ceremony. Uh, and the Zohar says as follows, verse Kufayin Gimel 173. פתח רבי יהודה ואמר, Rabbi Yehuda opened and said, and he's quoting from Jeremiah 22, Hoi bone beito belo tzedek. Better it is for the one who builds his house with no justice. And he says, כי בכל מקום שנמצא בו צדק, every place there is tzedek, the Shekhinah, all bad spirits and all the dark sides run away from that and they avoid that place. ועם כל זה מי שמקדים ולוקח המקום זכה בו. But first comes first served. First comes first served, which means if the holy kingdom, Shekhinah, is coming first to take the place, the house, then holiness dwells in that house. However, ואם הסטרא אחא מקדים למקום, if the dark side takes the place, first the dark side has it. אמר לו רבי חזקיה, so Rabbi Chizkiah answered, what do you mean? That the holy name is equal in power to the dark side? Which means first come, the first one takes over? אמר לי, so he answered, אינו כן אלא השם הקדוש ומלכות אינו שורה במקום טומאה. The holy name, the holy Shekhinah does not dwell in a place of uncleanliness. And therefore, if the holy name is taking the place firstly, which means when you put the cornerstone of the house and you mention the name of Hashem, and you say, the Zohar says, you have to mention it with your mouth. This house is going to be dedicated for the holy God, for the holy name of God. If you say that, this house is going to be dedicated for Hashem, at that moment, Hashem, you put the seed. That's not just for a house. That's everything you make. When you make a decision, you go inside. Who is in control, the dark side or the negatives or the positive side? If the dark side is, you have first to win and take over, overcome the dark side with the light side. Bring in the light, bring in holiness. If you do that, you planted the seed. From now on, the holiness is going to be there in every step that you just started, of the journey you just started. You have many, many opportunities to, again, to recalculate, recalibrate, all the time to choose the light over darkness. And the moment the light, the Shekhinah, takes the place, nothing can hurt you. But if you draw in the impurity, the negativity, the dark side, now that is the owner of the place. Now the whole house will be ruled by that. Therefore, when the house showed leprosy, okay, they called the Kohen, not the contractor, they called the Kohen. The Kohen had the chesed. He had to bless that place, and if the negativity did not disappear, you had to turn it, to destroy it and rebuild it with new materials. So there's no difference. Every moment is the first moment of the rest of your life. Every day is the first day of the rest of your life. Every moment of darkness can be the moment you plant the seed of holiness for a new journey. How? You wrestle with the dark angel. You don't let him control you. You wrestle till you bring in dawn, till you draw in, and that's the real thing about being a human being. Animals, they are slaves of their instincts and emotions. We humans, we're the only creature that could be aware of the darkness, the dark angels that we are obsessed with, and then we choose godliness, holiness, and light. And what if I tried? So dial again and again and again till you pull the light in, and then you planted the seed of a new journey, a new frequency, a new success. You want to know what to do when you are simply stressed out because of politics, because of world economy, because of people, bad behavior, and so on? Don't blame them. Do not blame them. Do not curse them. Do not badmouth them. That's making you a leopard. Instead, shut down the negativity. And how? By pulling in light, greatness, connection. Meditate on the light. When you can draw in the light of God, you will see the result. Your whole thing, you'll see everything with a new great light. And then you can start walking on a new path. That's the difference between the men and the boys. And that's exactly the difference in the coming future. Nothing makes sense anymore. Only one thing, to choose light over darkness, to be Jacob who becomes Israel, to fight willingly, happily against the dark angel and win. Do not, as long as you fight, it means that you're winning. What is dangerous? When you stop fighting and you are simply obsessed with self-pity and blame and shame, you lost. But the moment you're aware of it and you start fighting again, you're winning. Good luck to us all. All the best.